I don't know how I got to this tangent, but I'm assuming it's part of the last question.
Ladies, gentlemen, and those with the good sense to do away with the whole notion, I welcome you to the premier audio medium for all your Fazbear entertainment needs. The Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast. Note, FFPP is not responsible for any loss of appetite, disinterest, dismemberment, or other legally classified statuses. So strap in and enjoy.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast. I'm your host with the toast, Right Toast, here to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's, like we always do. And I know the FNAF 2 trailer just came out, but I'm probably going to talk about this book because I didn't get to last week because the podcast came out when the book came out, and I wanted to wait. And I think this book is frankly more relevant to my job than the FNAF 2 trailer is, but expect a FNAF 2 trailer video probably this week. Anyway. Escape the Pizzaplex, huh? It is the most recent interactive novel in the series so far. We had VIP as sort of entry 0, the week before as entry 1, Return to the Pit as Return to the Pit as entry 2, and now Escape the Pizzaplex as entry 3. I really liked this book. Now, I saw some criticism in the lead up, and that was really annoying because like the book wasn't even out yet and people were like, oh man, this book sucks, it ruins XYZ, blah blah blah, and here's the endings and why it's bad. It's like, bro, the book's not out yet, chill. But I will say, since putting out a video and having that little defense in the middle of it, there have been some pretty valid criticisms that have come up since then. Or at least that it's not that they've come up after I put out the video, it's that people mentioned their criticisms in the comments, and it's stuff I hadn't addressed, and it's stuff that I think is a fair point. I think my lights are too bright. Y'all let me know if you prefer this brightness or if this is more natural. Anyway, oh, that's right in front of my notes now. Ugh. So in case you haven't watched my main channel video on this, what are you doing? Go watch it. It's a good video. But regardless, I kind of just went into the major plot of the story, which, again, go buy this book. It's pretty good. I'm going to spoil it as we talk about it, so be prepared for spoilers. But it's basically about, you're Cassie. This is before Security Breach. And every night, you and Gregory wait until after hours to have the Pizzaplex to yourself, and then you just go goof off and do whatever. Like, they play hide and seek. She mentions going go-karting or hitting the arcades. You basically get an entire theme park to yourself with no lines. I get it. That sounds dope as hell. The horror and the danger comes in the fact that Gregory is doing more and more increasingly deadly and scary pranks on Cassie. Night 1 is just Glamrock Freddy it's like, oh, we're gonna play hide and seek and Glamrock Freddy is gonna find us. And meanwhile, and she's like, okay, sure, whatever, it sounds fun. And then Freddy finds her and he's like baring his teeth, pun intended, and like, I found you, and like stomps and all that. And it's like, it's terrifying. She thinks she's going to die. And then Gregory pops out. It's like, haha, got you. Night 2, same thing, but with Monty. But Gregory isn't piloting Monty. And Monty's like acting erratically. Like he's twitching. There's electric jolting off of him. And some endings, Monty gets to you and kills you. But in other endings, if you go towards where Gregory went, and Monty finds you near Gregory, he will stop Monty and be like, I don't know what happened. I swear this wasn't a prank. The programming I added must have an issue or something. I will fix this. I'm so sorry. It's like, do we believe him? Who knows? But night 3, things start getting interesting. Cassie's like, damn, this sucks, and just goes to leave. And Gregory's like, no, come on, you have to stay. It's really important. And she's like, no, I don't want to. And then Freddy just kidnaps her. Glamrock Freddy just goes, well, you have to stay, and scoops her into his stomach hatch until after closing. And then once it's closed, he lets her out. And she's like, what's going on? And Gregory's like, we did that for your safety because the reagent is here and it's going to clear all biological material, and we're biological material. So you need to hide in the kitchen while we fix this. Which, like, she doesn't point it out then. She points it out later that night, I believe. But like, hey guys, I know you're tricking children to kill them for whatever you and Vanny are doing at this place, but we made you stay in a dangerous situation because it's dangerous is such a dumb lie. Like, if Cassie left, she wouldn't be in danger. But they obviously, like, they're trying to trick and kill her, so it's whatever. Their logic doesn't need to add up. It's just in fear, Cassie will nod her head and be like, okay, sure. And if you successfully hide for long enough, even though the reagent starts spraying its chemicals, Roxy can find you, scoop you up, and run away. And after not too much exposure, you wake back up like a day later. And Roxy's like, it's okay. You've got me. I don't know where Freddy and Gregory are, but we can get you out of here, Cassie, now that you're awake. And then you find, in trying to escape, you find Glamrock Freddy and Gregory in an argument, and Freddy kills Gregory in front of you and then starts chasing you and Roxy. So you got to run away. When they catch up, Gregory bursts out of Freddy's chest again and goes, haha, I got you good this time. Even Roxy was in on it. And Roxy's like, yeah, he told me you like being scared. Did you enjoy that? And Cassie's like, no, and runs away and cries. I realize I didn't mean to just recap the story, but we're at night 4. So night 4, or at this point, we're at night 5 now. So might as well just finish it off, right? She stays in the Pizzaplex all day, hiding in a maintenance closet, just upset and on and off crying. Probably sleeping somewhere in there because, like, it's been a day. Until eventually Roxy finds her and is like, hey, sorry, I don't know why I believed Gregory. Let me get the actual line because I didn't quote it, and I think it's an important wording. Page 169. We love taking notes on an external page. Did Gregory tell you to say that? Pretend to be regretful so you can lure me out for another game. Roxy shakes her head. No, Cassie, I should have known what happened wouldn't be fun for you, but I didn't. She pauses, and I'm not sure why. That gets your interest. You look back at Roxy. What do you mean? Roxy shifts from one foot to another. I'm not sure, only that I don't think I'm acting normal. Something is off. Some of your sadness recedes, replaced by intrigue. Roxy, have you scanned your programming lately? Roxy shakes her head. No, I haven't, but that is a good idea. Please wait. A moment later, Roxy's face goes blank as the animatronic begins an internal scan. You wait patiently for a few minutes until her features brighten again. Immediately, she frowns. Oh no, Cassie, you were right. My programming has been tampered with. By Gregory? She nods. Yes, he altered it so that I would assist him in his prank last night. But I found something else too. She pauses. Something much, much worse. Knowing how dark Gregory's humor has gotten, you aren't sure you want to hear what's coming, but you have to know. What did Gregory do to you, Roxy? He's altering my programming so that I will turn on you, Cassie, and attack you. A shiver runs over your skin. When? Roxy hesitates for a moment. Soon. And then that's when Cassie resolves that, like, okay, fine, let's get to a computer terminal and fix your programming. I will fix this. And she can. She knows enough programming to, like, once she gets her in there, she does the thing and removes it. But then, once she removes the programming, the monitor flashes up a picture of the reagent, or like the camera feed of the reagent turning on, and it's like new objective, kill Cassie or whatever. It's like new target, Cassie, and it's like her picture with a big red X on it. So it's like, uh-oh, but you have Roxy. And you and Roxy basically can choose one of like 4 different options to beat the reagent, and then Cassie leaves, and it's like, I'll come back eventually, but I think I've had enough Pizzaplex for now, and everywhere you look, and she just walks off, right? Like, that's the story. All right, bye, Casey, jeez. Mark, would you like to replace the case? So that's the basic plot, and then I spent the rest of Friday's video talking about, like, this book, more than anything, is telling us Gregory's method for capturing kids while under the influence of Glitch Trap, which is kind of what I thought going into it. Like, oh, we're going to see what he did. Granted, I thought we were going to get a little more, right? I thought there was going to be more stuff happening. Like, maybe we'll learn more about Gregory and how his mind works while under the control of Glitch Trap. Maybe we'd be freeing him at the end of the book. Who knows? That actually goes into one of the pretty valid criticisms I saw in the comment section of people bringing up, because the criticism I kept seeing on Twitter was this book doesn't add anything to the lore, it ruins everything, and the endings, and like, it makes no sense that Cassie would want to be friends with Gregory after the pages of this book. And I think those are bad criticisms. I don't think that makes any sense. But some of the valid ones that got brought up that I just must have missed in the zeitgeist, because I was trying to avoid spoilers, is that all of the endings are really samey. And yeah, that's 100% true. every single ending of this book is you beat the reagent. Okay, so I should be clear. When FNAF and when Five Nights at Freddy's advertises these books, it always mentions that there's like 20 endings or something. Yeah, multiple endings in 2 difficulty settings, and it sometimes will be like, there's like 25 plus endings. That's counting game overs, right? And because a game over is an ending, and those are very varied. It's like, oh, Monty killed you. Oh, you got stuck in an elevator and the reagent got you, right? So like those are endings, but the things that say the end on the page, they're all kind of just the same to an extent. Like the methods are different, but each ending is like, you killed the reagent and you leave. And that's every ending, which that is a little disappointing, I will say. Granted, I don't know what other endings there could have been. I think freeing Gregory would have been a really cool one. And I believe DJ Sturf hinted on Twitter that like he suggested other endings and they didn't go for those. So who knows, but I still think that one of the coolest endings could have been finding the Balloon World arcade machine, beating it, and freeing Gregory. I'm just saying, but maybe that's not how the story plays out, Maybe it's not that. Maybe that's not the ending because we're not at security breach yet, or maybe that's not the ending because Cassie doesn't do it. There's probably another reason for that not being the ending. That being said, like the week before, we've got the end where you're in Golden Freddy's casing. You've got the end where you and your daughter are like about to start a road trip. You've got the end where you survive, and then like Return to the Pit, my God, had like 3 different plot lines in it, where like some of the endings were what we know from Into the Pit, some of the endings were with the FNAF Avengers, some of the endings were going through the arcade machine and doing a whole separate side quest to prevent the missing child incident, which was weird. It was weird, but it was different and it was interesting. And like every ending in this book is essentially, you defeated the reagent and Cassie leaves. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a heart. Like every single time, like that's it. To the point where the secret ending that you have to do additional steps to get, that is like a whole other thing. That secret ending is, you defeated the reagent and Cassie leaves, but Gregory's outside. Everywhere you look, like that's it. I don't know why I keep using an opening for an ending, but I think they use the same song for the credits. I don't know. I haven't watched Full House in years. It's just the first song that came to mind. So yeah, like I don't want to say this book is bad. I still think the writing in this book is really, really solid. If anything, like I think my rankings is VIP is separate because it's so short, but I think my favorite is still the week before. Then it's Escape the Pizzaplex. Then it's Return to the Pit. And I like Return to the Pit. So like none of these have been misses for me so far. Escape the Pizzaplex though, I like the writing. I think the writing is really solid and gives Cassie a lot of character that we didn't have time to see in Ruin. So like I feel like I know Cassie as a character way more now going into whatever game comes after Secret of the Mimic, when we are, I think, going to be going up against Cassie, right? Because that was another complaint I saw where people were saying like it's character assassination, that Cassie is like, it's implying that Cassie's this like weak-willed, will follow Gregory into anything because she still goes to save Gregory after he basically tortures her. And it's like, I don't think that's the case. I think this is showing a very dynamic character who is willing to look past a lot of things to keep her only friend, especially a friend that in canon, like if we consider the canon endings of this game, she doesn't know Gregory sicked the reagent after her. She doesn't know that Roxy would have killed her if she failed that game, right? She heard attack, which, sure, that's a scary word. Maybe she could have gotten hurt. But, like, if I said, like, imagine your best friend ever said, like, oh, I was going to pull a prank on you where when you open that door, I was going to attack you. Would you think they meant stab you until you stop breathing? Or would you assume attack meant, like, a tackle, right? And then we look into, God, so many thoughts just like collided, and like there was a 4-way intersection of thoughts and the lights were removed. There are casualties. Holy, that train of thought, it's gone. That intersection of brain power, it's rubble. It's on the news at this point. God, what was I gonna say? Right. So like I think realistically, canonically, all she really knows is that Gregory has a bit of a mean streak and is a bit of a scamp, but at the end of the day, he is a good friend to her. Like, that's her thoughts. And I don't think that's character assassination. I think that's just a realistic portrayal of like an 11 or so year old girl. Did we get an age for these goddamn kids in this book? Because it would be so nice to actually know how old this kid is. Or if it's just going to be, you are Cassie, a girl, a young patron. Man, most of their kids your age. Okay, so it's age appropriate that she loves FNAF. And FNAF is usually looked down on by most of the teenagers in these books. So I am going to guess like 11 or so, maybe approaching 12. Because I will say, I still think the Roxy line, I remember your birthday. It was the 11th because you're number one twice. I still think that means it's her 11th birthday. I still think it does. Like, why else would you include a line about the date of her birthday, but not her age? You know, that's good exposition leaked into a meaningful moment. Anyway, another criticism I saw that I disagree with. Actually, no, this was a counterpoint that I think is good to bring up. I mentioned that the true ending is not canon because you need the executive access key card, which you get in an ending of a different ending that you now like timeline warp back to night 4 and suddenly have. And that was one of my points for why that route isn't canon. Great counterpoint was raised in the comments. I wish I had it in front of me, but if you left that, thank you for pointing that out. That's not a good piece of evidence because in the week before, arguably the most canon playthrough is the one where you need to have, I forget her name, the journalist. You need her cell phone, which you get in one of the endings and you restart with. So like that, and like that is the canon one. So like that's not a good counterpoint. And I agree, that isn't a good counterpoint. I think the strongest piece of evidence that I should have stuck with is that in that playthrough, Roxy gets Monty's claws and keeps them. Or at least she says like, I like these a lot, I think I'm going to keep them. Which implies that in that timeline, at the beginning of Security Breach, Roxy would have the Monty claws, which she doesn't. She has the eyes upgrade. So I think that's the best piece of evidence I should have stuck with rather than the executive access key card. But that's a great counterpoint. I mentioned in the video, though, that there's a lot of other theories this book goes into that I didn't have time to get into. And I think we're going to be going into that in the coming weeks, especially in the lead up to Secret of the Mimic, to kind of fill space until we get to Secret of the Mimic. Because that game comes out, it sucks for me. It comes out on Friday the 13th, which is awesome, but I release videos on Friday. So I've been debating that, like, should I release a video on Friday and then immediately release my Secret of the Mimic video on Saturday? Or do I just skip that Friday and my weekly video comes out on a Saturday? And I think that's what I'm going to do because it's not like I'm going to... I always worry about skipping a Friday because that would really hurt my algorithm. But I'm not skipping the full week. Like, I would still be releasing it a day later. And obviously, I mean, fingers crossed, knock on wood, every time I've released Security Breach Ruin explained, or like Help Wanted 2 explained, Into the Pit explained. Those are my biggest videos, which makes sense because somebody plays a FNAF game and they go, what the hell was that? And they want to watch a video explaining what the hell that was. So I'm going to be doing that for Secret of the Mimic, you know. I hope, we know it comes out on a Friday. I can only hope it comes out early, like 10 a.m., noon, because then I can play it for like 8 to 10 hours, hopefully beat it, and then just not go to bed that night, write, record, edit, and upload a video. So here's hoping. You know, on the bright side, really easy video to edit because it's just going to be gameplay and me talking about gameplay, you know. And luckily, I finally fixed my stream stuff where now when I stream a video game, it records a separate video of the gameplay and my face cam. So I have clean gameplay footage of the whole game as long as I've streamed it. And that's what I'll be doing Friday. Because again, I keep trying to plug this because I want as many baskets to put my eggs in as possible. I do stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday at twitch.tv/RyToastYT at 9 p.m. EST every single week. It's good content. Yesterday, I just played Repo. I mean, I'm recording this as of Sunday, so unless something happened. But yesterday, I was scheduled to play Repo with myself, my wife, Dapper Mr. Tom, from Dan Seibert, Alt-Tab Horror, and Scylla Aria. Like, amazing people. Wonderful people. So, like, just go watch the streams. And if you don't like live streams, go watch Rytoost, where I take those live streams and I alchemy, like, condense them into a good video. Which, by the way, speaking of good videos, today, the video version of the FNAF 1, 2, and 3 at the same time stream is launching. Or I'll slate it to come out, so I can link it in the card right here. Go watch it. I'm really proud of that video. I think that was one of the funniest streams I've done so far this year. I was in tears by the end of that stream. I think part of it was I was really tired and so, like, fried from paying attention to 3 FNAF games at once for 3 hours, or like 2 hours, or however long it was, that, like, anything was funny to me. Someone just typed the words Flint and Steel in all caps, and I started crying. Like, it was a time. Anyway, huge tangent aside. This book has other lore that I will be covering in the coming months. I think one of the things that's most interesting to talk about is what it tells us, like, about other. It like connects to other things that Gregory has done in a way that makes me wonder, how much of that was Dr. Rabbit and how much of that is Gregory. I think a key thing here in the books, twice when you take an elevator, it, like, locks and gets overridden, and Gregory uses that to kill us. One of them we get trapped with Roxy, one of them we get trapped in front of the reagent who just, like, puts the gas into the elevator. And, like, both times the elevator gets stopped. Like, does that sound familiar? The end of Ruin, the main ending of Ruin, where we're going up an elevator, Gregory, supposedly, comes over the speakers, explains that we're not supposed to be down there, and then hits the, "I'm sorry, it's not your fault, but we can't risk it getting out," and then the elevator drops, right? I think, because I've been saying for a while, there's that mic feedback in between the first chunk and the second chunk. And, like, Gregory's, in the subtitles, Gregory's lines start again. I think that second half is Dr. Rabbit. Now, that being said, that doesn't line up with my other theory on Dr. Rabbit being dead by the end of Help Wanted 2. So maybe that disproves that, or maybe that's just one of Glitchtrap's favorite I know this will work methods, is just trap somebody while they're in an elevator. So maybe it's just Glitchtrap, because, I mean, at the end of the day, they're all Glitchtrap. It's Glitchtrap all the way down. But I don't know. I think it's really interesting, and I do still think that after Ruin, Cassie has been fully taken over by Vanny, and Glitchtrap has a hold over the Mimic endoskeleton. I think that's what we're walking into post-Ruin. Hopefully Secret of the Mimic tells us more about that, but I feel like Secret of the Mimic is just a vessel to explain to the broader fandom what the Mimic is. Because, like, somebody pointed it out, Extra Tuna's Jackie's Box video does a better job at explaining what the Mimic is and its origins to the FNAF fandom than, so far, any game or video that's been put out by FNAF, right? Like, the books do a great job of explaining who the Mimic is, and some YouTubers, like myself, and, FNAF, and IDs, Game Theory, like, there's plenty of YouTubers who have also done good, like, who is the Mimic videos. Ozone also has a great, like, what is the Mimic video. His is kind of explaining how it interacts with the games, which is also really good. But as far as, like, the games themselves have gone, I think part of this is the reveal that was sought after, but because the reveal of what the Mimic is still hasn't happened yet, but the reveal of the Mimic's involvement in general happened so late in its storyline, a lot of people are just left to be like, okay, but wait, who's this then? And it didn't give, I think the reveal at the end of Ruin was supposed to be, I knew it. But for most people who didn't read the books, the reveal was, what? And because I think Ruin was kind of made assuming people were going to read the books. And a lot of people didn't, just because they don't want to, which, like, fair. Everyone interacts with this franchise in their own way. And I think they knew that was a risk, which is why Secret of the Mimic is the next game. Because let's be super, super real. Let's be super honest. I hate the whole Ruin was made because Security Breach wasn't received well, and Help Wanted 2 was made, and Secret of the Mimic is being made because people didn't want William to be the antagonist of Security Breach, so they're changing everything at the last minute. No. Help Wanted, the game before Security Breach, in retrospect, is very clearly about the Mimic. Very clearly. Glitchtrap especially. So, like, this has all been planned. And I think when they were planning things out, they knew that the Mimic might not be the reveal they're looking for, and they know a good chunk of this fandom doesn't read the books. So Secret of the Mimic, I think, was kind of like the last chance, right? Like, if we kept going with the Mimic storyline, there'd still be a lot of people who are confused. So Secret of the Mimic is kind of, I think, their way of being like, look, we did our big reveal, but for anyone who hasn't been reading the books, we should throw them a bone, and that's Secret of the Mimic. Now, I'm hopeful that Secret of the Mimic is like 6 to 10 hours long, at least, just for content's sake. Because, like, the nice thing about Security Breach, like, look, I got problems with Security Breach, a lot of people do. One of the things that is undeniable about Security Breach is that it is so good for theory crafters, because it's just this big open book of a bunch of random disparate pieces. And it's so useful for theorists to be like, oh, this is helpful, this is helpful, this is helpful, these connect here. You know, like, it was so good for, frankly, content. And I really hope that Secret of the Mimic, you know, is, one, a better game, but 2, is just as dense and almost is just as, not confusing is not the right word, open-ended. Because I think part of the reason why Help Wanted 2 wasn't met with as much continual attention is because it was rather straightforward. I think the only confusing bits on it were the endings, which, like, even then, I've got pretty clear ideas about the endings of it, and most people kind of got the gist of the endings. It was just kind of like, oh, that's weird. Where it didn't command this big mystery. It was more supplemental than anything, right? Whereas Security Breach is still shrouded in mystery. And I as much as I also want, like, clear answers, I think the fandom is of two minds, where a lot of the fandom is like, we want some clear answers, we've been left on the hook for so long, but those clear answers, I think, are desperately wanted for the beginning parts of the timeline, which hopefully is what Secret of the Mimic is going to be doing as well. But I don't think, at least me personally, I don't really want super direct, clear answers for the current timeline. I want more context, you know? And I hope that's what we're going to be getting, if not in Secret of the Mimic, in the next game. But realistically, I think what I'm asking for is, dear God, Secret of the Mimic, please give me enough content to cover until the next FNAF game. Please. I don't want to have to put fries in the bag, please. But yeah, that was a whole tangent. We were supposed to be talking about Escape the Pizzaplex. What else can I talk about for Escape the Pizzaplex? I mentioned this in the video. I only mentioned it slightly, but Gregory is constantly adjusting the programming of animatronics in this book. He does it to Monty, he does it to Roxy, and likely he did it to Freddy. This is something I was saying for a long time, ever since GGY came out. And like many people were saying this, but like in GGY, all the animatronics' coding has been changed by GGY, and G's and Y's have been left throughout the coding as like almost like a signature. And I was like, oh, this explains the beginning of Security Breach, right? Freddy has been given the directive, protect Gregory above all costs, and they just got the command, capture Gregory, right? Part of me still thinks that's true. Part of me also is like, likely Roxy and Monty and Chica all have that directive of like, you need to protect Gregory. So like, why would it just be Freddy who crashes? I think my secondary guess is just Freddy, during that show, I think actively has Gregory in his stomach hatch, because Gregory has shown that he's able to just like use that and hang out in there pre-Security Breach in this book. God, I've only been brushing Mark since this, like, I started on this recording. Oh, this fur. Jesus Christ, Mark. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a couple explanations still, but I think it feels gratifying to be saying and screaming from the rooftops for almost 2 years, like, Gregory is changing their programming. And then a book comes out that's just like, yeah, Gregory changes their programming. It's like, I was right. It was like one of my first big I was rights. And it wasn't even a huge one because like everyone thought that, I feel. But it feels validating. Speaking of Mark, quick side tangent. These are done being sold. Thank you so much. I think we sold like 350 plus of these guys. Thank you so much for that. I think, because you always want to sell more than your last thing, and it didn't. But I think the fact that you guys got 350 of these marks in the economic state we're currently in says a lot. And I can't tell you guys enough about how much that means to me. So again, thank you guys so much for the support on that. I can't wait until they're out. I think I ordered like 4 extras for myself, because that's the one mistake we made. Back when we did the U2s, I was like, hey, can I get some free copies? And they're like, yeah, how many do you want? I asked for 10. There's still a box of them back there that I need to go through and give away at some point. But when we got the toast, our first makeshift, I forgot to ask for extras. So like, this guy is the only copy of him that I have. So like, if this gets ruined, lost media, I guess. So I'm being extra careful with this guy. So we made sure that like, for future reference for makeshift, I was like, yeah, can I get a couple extra copies? And they weren't free, but they gave us a discount, which is nice. But yeah, thanks a lot for the support on that. That means a lot. I want to keep talking about Escape the Pizzaplex because we're only at like 30 or so minutes, but I don't know what else to say. It's a good book. Go buy it and go read it. I liked it. But I agree, the endings are a bit samey. And I think I do, as much as I hesitate. The other complaint I kept seeing in my comments was that the reagent as a villain is kind of lame because it's so disconnected from everything else. And I think, I agree with that, but I think it is worthwhile. And I didn't think about this until after the fact. I didn't bring it up in the video for that reason. I think further evidence that the reagent is specifically to prep people for remnant extraction is when we use the scooper in Ruin, the room first fills with gas. Which is something I didn't bring up at all. The room fills with gas before the scooper is used. My thinking is it's the same gas. Somebody did point out that remnant can't just be extracted from a person, because like remnant is soul mixed with metal. That's fair. But this scooper also is way more sophisticated than the sister location one. So my thinking is maybe it's killing someone while injecting them with metal or something. Or maybe the reagent is it's taking the iron in your blood and expanding it to put metal in your body as it kills you. I don't know, right? This is like weird sci-fi ghost rules, and there's never been... The only fully established rule for remnant is it's soul and metal. So like, we don't know if filling a body with metal before you kill them would make remnant. We don't know, you know? So I think there's wiggle room for that. But it's such a good piece of evidence for my argument that when you use the scooper in Security Breach or in Ruin, the room fills with gas before it scoops, which could be the same gas the reagent is using. And it's notable that in Sister Location, it doesn't. There's no gas in Sister Location. And I think that just proves that this technology has been improved since William's reign of it. But yeah. Good book. Go buy it. Let's take questions, because I haven't taken questions in like months because of the timeline episodes. If you want your questions answered on the podcast, feel free to send them into Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast at gmail.com. That email's in the description, so you can copy and paste it because it's paid to type out. Our first question comes from Cyan Sticks. Any all, thank you for your question. I have a question regarding your thoughts on Gregory's family. It seems that he's meant to be patient 46, but in those tapes, we hear that he had a good family, but lied about it to say it was tragic. We see that he's homeless in the bad ending, so something clearly has happened, but it just seems strange. There's also the matter that the therapist said 46 had a great childhood, as if it's over. Not to mention, why would Gregory be in the same therapy as Vanessa, as hers is company mandated? Is it just to keep them from getting too close? You have a couple points. All of them are pretty addressable. As far as Gregory has a good family but lied to say it was tragic, we see that he's homeless in the bad ending, so something happened. I don't think we see that he's homeless, because think about it in context. If you are Gregory, you go to the Pizzaplex lot, but your mind was eventually taken over. And throughout Security Breach, your mind is no longer taken over, but you don't have your memories back. So I think it's just a matter of once he got out of the Pizzaplex, it's still like, 6 in the morning? He's probably just resting. I don't think he's homeless. I think that shot in that bad ending is Gregory thinks he got far enough away and he's finally like, what happened? And he's taking a moment to rest and recuperate. The only place he can find that's somewhat safe. That being said, who knows? Maybe he is. Maybe his family has been killed. You know, we don't know anything about Gregory's family, but knowing Glitchtrap wanting to cover loose ends, it's possible that once Gregory's mind was fully taken over, he had a special delivery package to his parents' house and they died. You know, we don't know. So that is something worth looking into. There's the matter that Therapist is 46 had a great childhood as if it's over. I don't think it's too specific there. I think, like, if I'm talking to a 12-year-old and I said, you've had a great childhood, I don't think that means it's over. I think it's more so saying, like, you so far have had a good childhood. You know, like, in the past, your childhood has been pretty good. It might not be great now. You know, it might not that it's over, but so far it's been pretty good, I think is what it's getting at. And then as far as why would Gregory be in the same therapy as Vanessa, I tried my best to find it and I couldn't. I think it's in one of the logs. I forget exactly. I might be Mandela affecting this, so correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I swear that at some point in either a special delivery email or therapy log or maybe in GGY itself, one of the therapists brings up that, like, these counselors are rented out to places. Right? That, like, they don't belong to one establishment. That, like, maybe Fazbear goes, oh, we need somebody to help this coworker. We're going to hire a therapist, right? Like, Fazbear might not have an on-site counselor, but they might hire a counselor. And someone who's working at a high school would likely need an extra job. Or not high school, I guess middle school for Gregory. Would likely need some more money because most education staff are horribly underpaid and it's only going to get worse. So I think that's the logic of, like, it happened to be that way, especially if Glitchtrap is manipulating things behind the scenes by this point. I don't think it would be an accident that Gregory's therapists get contacted and contracted by Fazbear. It's likely to keep an eye on them. But that would be my answers for all of those. But there are good points to bring up, especially that homeless one. Thank you for your question, Science Sticks. Our next question comes from Gil, him. One thing that always bugs me, in FNAF 3, how come Phantom Chica is the only one to have her FNAF 1-like appearance? Wouldn't it have been easier to make Withered Chica into a phantom? Thank you for your question. You're right. I think it just comes down to Scott wanting to show that the person experiencing FNAF 3 has been at FNAF 2 and FNAF 1. I think when he was initially making it, if this was Dream Theory, then that's just, they're all the same nightmare. But if assuming it's Michael, right? We're talking about Michael Afton. It's just linking, like, by FNAF 3, he's been to FNAF 2, he's been to FNAF 1. And I think agony feeds off of its victim as much as it feeds off of its aggressor. And if it's the agony of the building making Michael's, like, fears and nightmares become real, essentially, I think it's just, you know, these are Michael's memories melding together in an Ultimate Custom-like fashion to torture him. So the only reason I think Chica is FNAF 1 is just to show that it's not just FNAF 2, it's FNAF 2 and FNAF 1 that are in his rearview mirror at this point. But thanks for your question. Our next question comes from A-List, they, them. I had a question about your FNAF timeline theory. You said that you think the Mimic has been the main villain in FNAF since Help Wanted in 2019, and you think the game after Secret of the Mimic will be the final game in the Mimic as the main villain series of FNAF. I'm kind of skeptical of this being the final Mimic game, but putting all that aside, do you think Cassie and Gregory will survive the whole Mimic ordeal? I really hope so, but I'm not too sure considering this is the child death game. I want to know if there's any foreshadowing of deaths or if you've got a gut feeling. Thank you for your question. I was thinking about that too. And I think it comes down to a twofold answer, right? Because as far as will Gregory and Cassie survive, assuming Cassie is the next major villain after Secret of the Mimic, I think there will be an ending where Gregory and Cassie survive. And I think that will be like the good ending to shoot for, similar to the good Vanny ending in Security Breach, where Vanessa, Gregory, and Freddy's head all escape and survive. So when I say I'm of two minds, I think it's more so that there will just be endings for the game after Secret of the Mimic, where in some endings, Cassie doesn't survive, in like probably one of the endings, Gregory doesn't survive, and in the good ending, everybody survives. But I think part of my gut feeling for that is, yes, this is the child death game, but I think Scott is kind of a softie. And now that, like, Gregory and Cassie specifically are charactered, storied main characters of this series who are also children, I think the worst would be spared for them, right? I think they'd be spared for the worst of this franchise. I don't think, now that we've gotten to know these characters and played as these characters, and they are main characters, I don't think that, like, in the story there will be no way to save both Gregory and Cassie. I do think there will be at least one ending each where they don't survive, right? Like a fire escape ending for Cassie, where we beat the new villain and we find out it was Cassie and it's tragic. Or like the bad ending of Security Breach, where it's implied that Gregory is at least captured and mind controlled, at worst killed, right? So, or I mean, with Ruin itself, all three of the Ruin endings are bad for Cassie. Like one of them, she falls in an elevator shaft. The other one, she used the scooper on the Mimic, but it's now missing. And the other one, she's about to be killed by the Mimic, and she just puts on the mask and her mind is gone. None of those are a good outcome for Cassie. So I don't know. I think my gut feeling is the best ending of the game after Seek of the Mimic will see Gregory and Cassie both surviving, but I don't know what the true ending would be. But yeah, I think now that these are like storied main characters, yes, this is the child death game, but like one of the strengths of FNAF, and I talk about this in like why FNAF is unsolvable and it's a good thing, and the thing that other indie horror has kind of missed the mark on is, I think Poppy Playtime is the next closest attempt at this kind of storytelling, and it's why Poppy Playtime is so successful, I think. The plotline of the games of FNAF are not the story of FNAF, and I think that is the good thing. I think it's the thing that every other indie horror, except for maybe Poppy Playtime, has missed, and it's why they don't have the same staying power that FNAF does now. And it's because in these FNAF games, the main story, what's actually going on, is completely separate than the games. The games are the aftermath. The games are the context. The games are the echoes of the song of the main story, right? Security Breach, in a way, is the same way, where Security Breach is Gregory escaping. But he's only escaping because the story already took place. I think that's part of the reason why Help Wanted 2 wasn't received as strongly, and it's because Help Wanted 2 was the story. The story was Cassie's dad finding this and trying to stop it. And granted, it still was, in a way, separate because the main story is what he's been trying to stop. But him trying to stop it is a part of the main story. And that's why it was so like, we get it. And it was less that kind of like true crime nature of FNAF where it's not, I'm playing as a character trying to stop William Afton. It is, I'm playing as a character who's being affected by this story that I cannot change. I think the exception to this rule is FNAF 6. But FNAF 6 worked because it was meant to be a sort of finale. And like, you know, you gotta have one of those. I'm hopeful Secret of the Mimic is going down this way as well. Where, how did I get on this topic? I don't remember how I got here, but I'm gonna finish my thought. Where Secret of the Mimic is us reclaiming the Mimic, and that's not the main story. The main story is the creation of the Mimic. We are in the aftermath. So I hope we see that there. I don't know how I got to this tangent, but I'm assuming it's part of the last question. So thank you for your question, Alice, and I hope that answered it. Our final question comes from Cart, he, him. I had a not-so-FNAF related question, but with all the new games we're going to get in the Switch 2 from the Direct on the 2nd, and the March Direct, what lineup are you going to get? Mine's Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream, ZA, and Donkey Kong Bonanza. Thank you for your question, Cart. I will say, quick shout-out, on Rytoost, I just put out my full breakdown and analysis of the Direct we got on the 2nd, as well as an edited-down version of my reaction to the Direct. Both are on Toost. Go watch them. Card up here. Anyway, I think we'll see how the prices go with all these tariffs, but because I am unfortunately in the United States, I will probably just get the Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle to save money on Mario Kart, and Kirby Air Riders whenever it comes out. Those are the two games above all else that I'm like, I need to play these games. Metroid Prime 4 is on that list. If it's a launch title, I might swing that, but these games are so goddamn expensive. I'm going to be super real. If the channel doesn't blow up before then, I'm probably just going to have Mario Kart for a couple months. Like, these is expensive as hell. But we'll see. You know, I kind of hope Prime 4 isn't a launch title, so I have time to save up. But we'll see. The three games that have my most interest by far is Mario Kart World, Kirby Air Riders, and Metroid Prime 4. I am so jazzed for those. But thank you for your question. And I guess that'll be a podcast. So again, if you have a question you want answered on the podcast, feel free to send them into Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast at gmail.com. That's in the description to copy and paste because it's a pain to type out. But until next time, as always, thank you for watching the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast, where the pizza abilities are endless. We hope to enjoy your future patronage. Bye-bye for now.